Hey, what's up? This is going to be a demo for a private collector for their brand new 7 chambers Aniflex V2. So I'm just going to get right into the Saber. This was a pretty unique build. I think that at the time of this filming, this was the first one installed, maybe not. I just got this recently and I got to town on it because it was kind of a unique thing and I wanted to solve it. But it is installed with a Proffie V2. It's got CCSabers in here. It's a 2-button setup. So customer requested on this one that the activation switch be down here and the auxiliary be up here. So that's what I did. That's how I wired it up. Everything is accessed from back here. So you just have to take this pommel cap off. Now I made a tool. Let's see if I can show it. It's a simple thing, right? But it's effective. It's made out of PLA, so it won't scratch the chrome. And it's made to assist you in starting with this pommel cap. I mean, you can get it pretty off pretty easy when there's no chassis in here, but I'll show you why we need this here in a second. So you take this, put it on here like this and spin. And you do that a few times until it comes out far enough where you can grab it with your fingers, and then you can just do the rest with your fingers just like that. I'm doing this over a piece of cloth. I'm trying not to drop anything. I don't want to scratch the chrome. Chrome sabers can be very nerve-wracking to work on when you're trying not to scratch them up. They're fingerprint magnets and they scratch easy, but so far so good with this guy. I've been super careful. So we've got the pommel cap off. You can see your speaker right there. This chassis is a snug fit. So you're gonna wanna take your hand like this and cup your hand and just kind of hit it a few times. Like on that second time it started to slide out. You'll see it like that. You can pull this all the way out. So this part of the chassis, it's got your board right here. It's a Proffie board, easy access to both your micro USB and your SD card. I've done my programming both ways. I've done it with leaving the board as it is right here, and then I've also popped the board up. I did shave or file down the sides of the board a little bit because I do like to normally make a press fit. This chassis was a little tight going in this Saber with that press fit because you know, when I press the board down and press fit it into the chassis kind of like bows out just a hair. So I filed the sides of the board down just a bit. It's still a snap fit, but you do have that piece right there to use for art tape in case it gets loose in the future. So no biggie there. You got Smuggler's Outpost PCBs right here. So you've got that PCB that lines up with this guy that will never come out. And that's your 14 pins up there. So I've got a piece of chassis in there that goes from about right here to right here. On one side it holds that 14-pin PCB I showed you, and then on the other side of the chassis, it's actually the PCB holder for the CCSabers in there. So it's all one piece. There's a cutout on the top and the bottom of the chassis so that when I slid this guy in, I could snake my 2 wires up for my auxiliary switch here and then snake them down for my power here, which was kind of a challenge, but now I've got a trick to that. Yeah, so this piece never comes out, but this is a press fit in there. It's not locked down with a screw. It's not glued in, of course. It's a tight press fit. So what that means is, like, before you go putting a blade in here and shoving the blade down, I would have the chassis in first. That way the chassis is all the way locked in. This middle chassis piece is actually resting up against the main piece so it won't go anywhere, and then you can put your blade in. That would be the only thing I would say to watch out for, okay? I put a blade in without it and it was fine, but that's not a best practice. A best practice would be to have your main chassis in first so that this definitely won't be going anywhere. So your chassis, it's got a removable battery, spring side your negative, 28mm Smuggler's Outpost speaker. I was able to get all your sound fonts on there and all your blade styles, or basically all your fonts and the config that you gave me loaded fine. So we'll throw a battery in. One thing when I'm putting a battery in this guy, I like to take my sticker. I'll either take the sticker off my battery, or if you want to leave it on there, put your sticker down inside the chassis like this.
You underestimate.
So you can't see your sticker. Now your config had it was about 1.9 on sensitivity. I bumped that up to a 3.5. That's a lot better for this guy. So now that we've got our battery in, we'll just put our chassis right in. It is snug, but it goes in. And it'll get to about right there, right? And that's when this will come into play. We're gonna screw this back on. So nervous trying not to scratch this up. I didn't have the Covertech wheel here, so as I understood it, Lewis is sending you a Covertech, so you'll be able to put that on, no problem. When it starts to get tight on you, that's when you can grab this tool. And that's mainly what this tool is for. So that when you have your chassis in and you're tightening this guy up, what this pummel cap is doing is it's pushing that chassis forward and it's engaging those 14 pins. And they're all on a spring, so it's gonna get a little tight. About like that. Now this one's working fine. I've used it over and over again, but I went ahead and I printed you a second one and I'll put it in your box too. It's not revolutionary by design means, but it's effective. So we've got this locked in. Everything's looking good. Oh, I got your grips on, right? I got your grips in the right orientation. So when you're looking at this box, you have it's a even line between the grips, and then when you're holding the saber straight up like that, you can see that top grip there is lined up with the bunny ears. Now I went in and measured this out and I printed out my own grip guide. The grips are supposed to be 3 millimeters up from the bottom of the saber. So this thickness is 3 millimeters, right? So I just line this up with the bottom of the saber, and that's how I put the grips on. So I slide it on just like that and lined up all my grips the way they needed to go, and then it comes right off. So again, this is a pretty simple thing, but it comes in quite handy. I didn't go all the way up. I don't need to. If you just go slow, then you can line them up straight. But on this saber in particular, all these grips are hard rubber or hard plastic. So you get one side going straight, you know, it's all gonna go the same way. But that's what I did there. So now we've got our board in. We've got motion controls, twist off, activation, auxiliary. We can turn it off with this too. One thing I noticed when putting this together, this button right here, wow. I spent quite a bit of time getting the height of the tactile switch that was provided with this kit to activate with this button push right here. It was either too tight or it wasn't enough. Because there's just a little bit of play in that button and it has to be perfect. I mean, I tried every combination of heat tape, a little piece of heat tape or electrical tape underneath the switch, on top of the switch. I finally got it to where I like it, and I put just a small amount of E6000, I mean less than a drop, on the threads where this guy threads in, so that it would lock in place where I wanted it to. Now, if you wanted to go in the future and crank on this with your finger, you could loosen it and it will come off, but that E6000 will keep it nice and steady in case, you know, while you're swinging it around or anything like that, it's not gonna move on you. And it is a perfect tactile now. Just like that. This guy takes a 7/8 inch blade. I've only got a test blade for 7/8 inch, so that's what we'll put in it. Your blade plug is very tight in this guy. So I'm not gonna put it in, I'm just gonna put it in your box. I'll let you decide what you wanna do. I'm not comfortable putting it in because I'm afraid I won't be able to take it out. So you may wanna go like around that a few times with some sandpaper until you get the feel that you like. It's got like a 1/2 inch. I need to cut off the back, and I'll do that before I package this up, no biggie. But I don't want to put it in this guy. You will damage it by like taking a pair of pliers and getting it out. So you know, that's where we're at with the blade plug. So let me throw this blade in it. I'll show you your blade retention. Again, like I'm so nervous with this Allen key, trying not to slip off this blade retention screw and scratch something. Your blade retention's right here, right? A little more difficult with a short blade to hit that blaster deflex, but there it is. Auxiliary. Turn it off. Whoops. No sound distortion. We'll go to the next sound font. You've got 21 on here.
Anakin.
We'll just cycle through a few of these.
Anger and your lust for power.
Now this is pod racing.
This is my apprentice.
General Kenobi.
You ever hear that of Darth Plagueis the One?
The Force is with you.
I am a Jedi, like my father before.
Just keep cycling.
Katano. Focus hand sent me.
My 7/8 inch blade is just a tad loose in this guy. Not bad at all, just a little bit, but I've sanded it quite a bit. So that's probably where that's coming from. If you have a brand new one, you'll be fine.
Are you a Jedi?
I am.
The dark saber.
It belongs to you.
Lord Vader. Ben Solo.
Master Qui-Gon. Master Windu.
The child.
Of all the sound fonts you have, this is the one I haven't got to play with yet. I got jealous watching Benji play with it the other day.
Darth Vader.
Anakin.
Few more.
I see through the lies of the Jedi.
Tusken Slayer.
This is pod racing.
Now we're back to pod racing, right? So we'll turn that off and take the blade out. So you can see everything's on there. Everything's working like it should. Lock your blade retention screw. Something about your blade retention screw. Yes, it holds your blade in, but it also helps hold this black core to this outer chromed piece. So you might feel when you're loosening that to put your blade in that this has the slightest of wobble in it, just a tad. You'll be able to tell what I'm talking about when you get it in your hand. And then when you tighten this back, everything goes back and it tightens. But that's normal. This thing is actually held together with several screws. I didn't file any except for the two in the handle, and I'll show you that right now. I had to file those down in order to get this chassis to function the way I wanted it to. So now again, we'll come over here to the tool, right, because this thing's pretty tight. I wish all the chassis designing was as easy as making this. So it took like 30 seconds, man. It's so helpful. So I'm gonna take that off. Now we're gonna do the same thing, but with the battery in the chassis, it's got a little bit more heft. So when you go to do this, you wanna make sure you cup your hand so your chassis doesn't go flying. Comes out just like that. Yeah, we could turn it off now. You might have motion controls go off on you while you're banging it to get it out, but that's okay. And then we can come in here from the positive side and just pop it out with our finger, just like that. So this actually takes just a little bit more hammering on your hand when there's no battery in it, because it's lighter and therefore, you know, it wants to stay in place just a touch more, but it will come out. Well, before I put that in there, I wanted to show you something. You have some orbital machining in there. It's going to be hard to see that. You can see a little bit right there. So basically how it's cored out this way makes for a strange fit. But I was able to get past that. And then you have in here, there's 2 screws that go through this control box, and they were actually inside of this chamber right here. So what I did is I went in here with a file and I just filed those down until they were nice and even with the inside of this chamber, so it didn't interfere with my chassis. So I could take my chassis and put it right in just like this, no problem, and put it in. So other than that, I mean, that's pretty much a full breakdown of your Saber. Let me know if you got any questions. I'll cut that little bit of piece that I need to cut off your blade plug, but then I'm just gonna put that in the box separately, like I said, and ship this out to you. I will have this actually out in the mail to you tomorrow. All right, thanks.